I'm Derek McGregor, and today I'm one-on-one with Livingston manager David Martindale. 18 years ago, Davy was sent to prison for a drugs-related offence. He spent 4 years behind bars. Davy's rise from the lowest moment of his life to now becoming one of the leading managers in Scottish football is utterly remarkable. He speaks with incredible candour, and it's an interview I'm certain you're going to enjoy. I'm with David Martindale, and we talk about people being in with the bricks, and I think, Davy, you are little in with the bricks here. Is there any part of this stadium you've not worked on? And your guys is a maintenance expert?
No, probably not, to be honest.
Including this tunnel I may add as well?
Aye. No, we've always, every year, we've tried to improve the club, because this is where we work from. We play for here, we work for here, we train for here, we eat here. So every penny we spend, right, Smithy? Every penny we spend improves the environment that the players are in on a daily basis.
Impressive.
So it's kind of the theory behind it.
Impressive.
Thank you.
Are you proud of it?
Aye. When you look over it all and you look at the progress we've had over the years, there's been a lot of money spent, but a lot of money saved. I'd imagine a lot of the work we've done at 25% of the cost. If you were going to get outside contractors in, we've probably saved 75% of the project cost.
See, whenever you come out this tunnel, do you still get a buzz being the manager?
On game day. On game day, I think more so on game day, like, because you're probably here training every day, it becomes your normal. But on a game day, when you come out, you hear the fans, the away fans. I think on a game day, that's you're ready to work. But because we're here every day, you probably lose that on the training.
Yeah.
But you definitely get it on the game day.
I mean, you first come in here, a decade ago now, Dave, isn't it?
11 seasons, this is my 11th season.
Part-time volunteer in maintenance. I mean...
Still that.
It's quite remarkable. I mean, I'm trying to think offhand if there's any other manager in the country, Davey, that would combine the main football job, but also we muck it in behind the scenes.
I think resources, you've got to. And it's not just me, I do that part of it, but there's members of staff in the backroom team and the front of the office. Everybody's got 3-4 hats on, so you're all doing different things. My, obviously, first team manager, coach, and doing a wee bit of work in the stadium. But when I first came in, John McGlynn, remember John McGlynn?
Yeah.
Used to do a wee bit of plumbing work, so there's a wee bit of background with John. John wasn't too shy and rolling his sleeves up and getting mucked in.
Yeah, there's no airs or graces about you, Davey. What you see is what you get, and you muck in. You don't see yourself, because you're manager, you don't see yourself in this kind of elevated position, do you?
Not really. Maybe when you come on to the training park, it's a wee bit different at that point. Saturday match day, coach and stuff like that, you're obviously in a different kind of position, but you step off the park, I think you just go and try and make the club a better place. If you can, go and help the players, go and help the staff and help the football club.
You turned 50 in July, Davey.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of moment was that for you? Are you a reflective type? Did you look back in your life or your football career? No?
I had to go at Chipper. Because you get your wee...
Brian Rice.
You get your wee NHS envelope through the door.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm talking about? Just turned 50. Not got a clue. Envelope through the door. Oh my God. So I had a wee go at Chipper because he never warned me. But I get up every day, come into Livingston, try and make it a better place, try and be a better person. That's kind of just how I approach it. You're
coming up for almost 4 years as boss.
Right.
December 2020, I think it would be, and you're probably one of the longest serving managers in the country. Is that something that gives you pride?
Don't know. I don't know. No, I think now in football, it's such a short-termism in the job. I'm big and I'm always going to bang the drum in continuity, always going to bang that drum. 4 years, been here 11 years. I think you just come in, and as long as you're in, I'm involved in football, I'm privileged, I'm in a privileged position, and I love the job that I do. I love being involved in professional football, so it's a passion. So just coming into your work every day is an honour, it's a privilege.
I think within 6 months you guided the team into a top 6 finish. And then I think subsequently it was 7th, 8th, League Cup final, a win over Ange Postecoglou's Celtic and a draw at Celtic Park. You got a draw against Rangers.
I need to put that on my CV. Ange in the Premier League now.
I mean, it's given Livingston the budget, the limitations, that's a record that's quite remarkable.
I think when you kind of, whenever my tenure at Livingston's up, or you kind of retire for football, whatever it's going to be, you look back and you look at these moments. But I think when you're involved in football, you're that immersed in the day-to-day activities, you kind of, everything gets brushed to the side. But there's been some good achievements at the club, and I'm the figurehead at that point. There's a lot of work goes on behind the scenes. Players, previous players, current players, staff, backroom staff, front of office. So there's a lot of other people that deserve huge credit. Previous managers, Hoppy, Holty. So there's a lot of other people that deserve huge credit for that also.
I mean, I've highlighted those results, but for you, what has been the biggest moment so far as manager? What's been the one moment, result, that's meant the most to you so far?
It's probably not so when I've just been the manager, because I've never, how do I explain this? When I've been the assistant manager, I didn't feel any different to how I feel now. When I worked with Hoppy, when I worked with Holty, it was the two of us together. Me and Marv, me and Dougie, me and Foxy, me and Neely and Chipper. It doesn't feel like it's your individual single achievement. Some games that stick out to me. Dolly Menga, goal against, I think it was Steven Gerrard. This is a true story. Steven, I think, first year in the Premier League, Brendan Rodgers, Steven Gerrard, he's just come up, been nowhere near the Premier League. I've came for junior football, and I'd ordered new dugouts. The dugouts you've got there now, and they never fit. They got the steel wrong. So Steven Gerrard's coming out, we had our old dugouts all ripped. I had them ready to go for the new dugouts coming in. And we had to bring the old dugouts back. But because I had lifted the floor in the dugouts, you couldn't get in the old dugouts. So I had to put bits of wood and bits of brick under it. People wouldn't have seen this for the side. And Steven Gerrard was coming. And I'm looking at this dugout going, oh my God, I've actually made this worse because I've stripped the old dugout. So Steven Gerrard, live in Sky, I'm looking at these, and I think it's probably only me that noticed this because I knew it stood up on bricks just so we could get the elevation, the height on it. And I remember Dolly Menga scored. I think it was Dolly who scored and we won 1-0. So there's been some quite surreal moments.
Were you quite mortified thinking what Steven Gerrard thinking about here?
I wasn't bored at that point. I wasn't really too bored, but nobody really picked it up. So I was all right. But I could see it because I knew. It was back in the Premier League. The Hearts fans are going to hate me for this. 5-0. We won 5-0 here. So there's been certain moments. Ange's first game with Celtic here, 1-0. And everybody was saying, oh, he's get barred and he's got to Parkhead. And I think we got a draw.
You did?
We've had a few draws at Parkhead. Gio's last game, or one of the last games as a Rangers manager. So it's probably more against the bigger opponents when you've been the underdog and you manage to pull a victory off. And everybody then will say, oh, it's a AstroTurf Park, but you managed to go to Ibrox, you managed to go to Parkhead, Tynecastle, Pittodrie, Easter Road and pick up probably not so much victories away from home with Celtic and Rangers, but definitely the other three.
People clearly, or managers and coaches would have been well aware of you, David, through being an insistent. But see, when you became manager in the top flight, was there ever a degree of snobbery because of your kind of, if you don't mind me saying so, kind of humble backstory, how you came in through?
No, I think that's the one.
Was there proper respect for the guys?
Yeah, I think a lot of them probably, I know Brendan's here now, but Brendan was my first game in the Premier League. Celtic away, they just won the league. That was my first game in the Premier League. As a coach, I'm an assistant manager. And I remember Brendan, he could have probably just shook my hand and well done away you go type thing. And he went out his way to make me feel welcome. Back in the office, sitting having a cup of tea, talking about transfers, talking about players. Stephen, I was generally not a manager. I was generally not a manager that's been in the Premier League that I could say is kind of looked at me differently. Yeah. I think most of them, and especially probably the higher profile managers, Stephen was brilliant with me, Mick, there's loads of them. They've actually went out their way to try and be a wee bit more respectful of you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So,
and it's not been patronising. It's been a genuine regard for what you've done and what you're doing.
I think football's a common language, isn't it? It's something you could go anywhere in the world, bump into somebody and talk about football. So for me, my kind of background got put to the side because you're there in a footballing element, you're there in a sporting environment, you're there trying to win a game of football as a competitive. Well, we're management at that point, but competitive athletes within elite level football. So I think there's always been that kind of sporting relationship.
I would have thought there's probably an even greater regard for you, David, considering what you've overcome to get to this situation, you know, and your whole approach to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's an honesty, you know, there's a real... People know what it means to you, your heart on the sleeve.
Yeah, I genuinely do think I've always been like that, but probably coming out of prison, you've got to then go set your stall and you're seen as dishonest because you've been to prison. So that kind of goes hand in hand with one another, but I've never really been, that's people are going to laugh at that, a dishonest person. But it goes hand in hand, so I'll always try to be as honest as I can, just wake up, try and make Livingston a better place, but always try and be honest. Sometimes that's to your own detriment at times. People don't always want to hear the truth, but I think you guys in the media, I've always tried to answer every question that gets put my way. I don't try to sidescrope it. I just try to give you my honest opinion. Whether it's reflective of the situation or not is everybody else's opinion.
You spent 4 years in jail. How did that shape you as a person, and does it actually affect how you approach life as a manager as well, David? Does it give you a thicker skin to deal with things?
It makes you resilient. I've had to be resilient. That's something that I've naturally learned over the years. The stigma attached to being in prison, that's difficult coming out of prison. It's difficult. Not looking for sympathy there at all, but you do need to have a mental resilience. But has it prepared me for life in professional sport? Probably.
Is every day, quite literally, does every day make you sort of kind of just keeps on motivating you every day because of what you've overcome, what you've come through, David? You of all people wouldn't take anything for granted, would you?
No, I don't take anything for granted. And I come into work, I still love coming into my work and being involved in professional football. I think part of my kind of background when I got arrested, I was on bail for 2.5 years, and that was probably one of the most difficult aspects of my life. Knowing you're going to prison, but not knowing when you're going to prison. So,
is that a tag as well?
Pardon? No, that was before, pre. No. I knew I was guilty, I knew I was pleading guilty. Yeah. But the court case took 2.5 years to get to court. So I got arrested in 2004, and April 2004, and put in prison in October 2006. So every day I'd wake up and the first thing I would think about was going to prison. Every night when I went to sleep, the last thing I thought about was going to prison. And that was a difficult 2.5 years, but I think it got me into the mindset of you wake up and deal with the day on a daily basis, and that's kind of how I come into my work every day. And it's kind of for 2004 how I've probably approached my life. It's kind of been very systematic in terms of that's how I go to bed, and then I wake up the next day and I go and try and attack that day in front of me, try and make the most of that day. And it probably comes from a lot of that background.
See that horrible, kind of awful moment for you, David, when you've got into a cell for the first time. See if somebody said to you then that little over, 10, 12 years later, you would be a coach, a manager at the highest level. I mean, how would you have reacted at that point?
You wouldn't have believed that. That would have been a wee bit far-fetched. I would have felt far-fetched at that point, so it would be a bit unbelievable in all honesty. I mean,
we're all aware of the stresses and strains of being a manager and the intense pressures, but from your point of view, is that because of what you've dealt with, is that not pressure for you? How do you...
It's still pressure. Obviously, I want to win every game of football, so it's still pressure. But does it give you a skill set or a framework to deal with it a little bit better? Yeah. I think it probably does. If I was just coming out of professional football, being a professional athlete for 12 years straight into management, I probably never had that skill set or the life experiences that I've had previously. So has it helped shape me as an individual? I think so. Has it gave me a framework to deal with it? I think so. And has it built a mental resilience inside of me that a will to win, a desire to win, a competitive edge? I've always probably had that in all honesty, but that mental resilience I don't think it's just something you can pick up. You've got to go through life experiences to actually build that, and I've definitely done that.
Because of that, David, do you get even more infuriated if you detect in a player here or wherever you've been who doesn't appreciate it as much? Maybe he's not as professional as it can be. Does that get you even angrier?
No, I wouldn't say angrier. Disappointing, but it's up to me then to try and guide that player. But you can only lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink, so to speak. But you're going to come across that in every walk of life. But it's up to me to try and guide these young players to show them that side of life, that this isn't always just going to be here for you. You've got to come into your work every day. I'm a great believer you're a product of your environment, so how you go about your day is going to shape you and your near future. So I always try and guide them. I probably missed that myself. Would I have listened to the older one tell me that 30, 40 years ago? I don't know, but I never had that guidance myself. I never had somebody with that life experience to try and paint that picture for me, and that's what I try and do. It's what our staff try and do. We've got real life lived experiences, and we try and pass that on to players to help them.
I think within a month you becoming manager here, you had an SFA fit and proper hearing, and
yeah.
I mean, how emotional a time was that for you then? I mean, I remember you speaking, and you spoke brilliantly. You spoke from the heart, total honesty. How difficult a time was that for you? Because I suppose in a way, managerial career maybe it was in the balance at that point. If it had gone against you?
At that point, it was up for the fight. The club was up for the fight. So I think legally, it probably couldn't have went against me. There's a time period of coming out of prison, 10 years, and the Rehabilitation Act. I think society's more inclusive, it's more diverse.
Was that more of a symbolic kind of thing, Davy?
Yeah. If the SFA came back at that point, we had a plan B, we had a QC on standby that was willing to, but do you know what? I think I've kind of knocked his SFA in the past as well, but I think I've got to give a lot of credit to Ian Maxwell and his staff and the people at the SFA for giving me that opportunity. I think I deserved the opportunity. Or people in my position, I think rehabilitation's got to play a part in society.
There was a lot of managers, coaches, a lot of support for you, David. What did that mean to you?
That meant a lot. That was from your peers. I think the most, when we look at the previous results, you're asking me things that stick in your head. I think it's your support from your peers or praise from your peers. That's probably the one part of professional football that goes a long way. I don't think sometimes in life people understand just a nice sentence, a bit of gratitude from someone, how far it can actually go. So to have the support of fellow professionals, that was probably the biggest part. That meant the most to me individually.
I suppose there was that moment in your life you probably felt you couldn't have been any lower. So when you've then got the other side where people are believing in you, people are supporting you as such, I mean, that is quite humbling, isn't it? It's quite, it would mean the world to you, that.
Yeah, but I think, I'll be honest, I think I earned that right also.
Yeah.
I think I got given the opportunity through a lack of resources at Livingston initially.
Yeah.
And then organically, that kind of relationship with Livingston Football Club just grew over those 11 years. But to get the opportunity to coach in the Premier League, to manage in the Premier League, I genuinely do think I earned that right. It wasn't given to me. I had to climb higher walls, jump higher fences, but I do believe I had to do that.
Yeah.
I had to do that. I made my bed and I'll lie in it and I'm okay with that, but I genuinely do believe I earned the right to do that.
It wouldn't have stopped you from becoming a manager, but the SFA still formally approving you was still important for you.
It was good because, believe it or not, I've got a lot of respect for authority. So it was important that the SFA accepted me. Yeah. It's more of acceptance. Yeah. And I think that was the biggest thing. The SFA says, right, we're going to allow you the opportunity and we'll accept you. And that meant a lot to me. And I think that message actually went UK-wide, because I got a lot of letters for people in similar positions, a lot of letters for people in prison, a lot of letters for people going through hard times, and said it offered a wee bit of hope for them as individuals also.
Was there one particular bit of support that really hit you, that affected you, in terms of your emotions that came through? Was there somebody that you didn't expect? Was there one you thought,
you had
wow,
MPs and stuff like that, drug ministers, and Angela Constance, Fiona Haslett, Hannah Bardell, all the local MPs, drug ministers actually saying, people that were part of rehabilitation, Colin McGowan, I think Colin at Hamilton. Yeah. Colin's massive on in kind of addiction. Colin spends huge amounts of money in trying to help people, and Colin got in touch with me and says, my stance on drugs, it's a scourge in society. He said, but I back you. I'm going to back you. I'm going to do an article. So people like that had a standing at the other side of the fence. So the victims of the impact that crime can have on someone. These people, drug ministers, people like that, coming out and saying he deserves his opportunity, he's served his time, he's rehabilitated, and we're going to support his application.
What about your football peers? Who do you recall in particular that really...
I probably wouldn't. Do you know what? I don't want to single one person out, because that process, I used to come in for training and be a WhatsApp message for someone I never knew, and it'd be, I got your number off X and X, Davey, I hope this works out for you, this is such and such. Managers, players, international players. So you'd be amazed that actually people went out their way to actually try and support me or give me a wee bit of encouragement. And then when the SFA accepted me, again, a lot of messages from people within football at top level that had went out their way to send me a wee message. So I don't want to individualise that, because collectively, I think I've got a lot to thank Scottish football fans for. I think collectively football fans from all clubs bought into my story and kind of backed it, because that could have went the other way and it was a negative, then it could have made the process a little bit harder. But I think the full footballing community in Scotland got behind me at that point and believed.
There's never a chance of you ever getting carried away as a manager, Davey, is there?
No, I don't think as an individual. I think when you start getting carried away, you become complacent and you lose everything that got you there. And I speak to players about that all the time. You get carried away, you check out a wee bit early. You've got to come into your work every day and be the best version of you. And I know that's a wee bit of a cliche, but it's something we keep banging on, banging. And I've got to live by the rules.
What kind of person do you think you are now as opposed to, say, 18 years ago?
18 years ago, I think I'm probably more humble than what I was pre-prison. I think before going to prison, money, cars, watches, this type of thing, you become very, very materialistic. Prison gave me a massive reset in my life and showed me what's important to me. Family, honesty, hard work. Probably was missing a wee bit of that growing up. But now I think the biggest thing, and I speak about that with the younger players, is actions. Every action's got a reaction. Did I really think about the choices I made previously? Probably not. I just went and done them. I never actually thought about the consequences.
How would you like to think your managers, your players, I beg your pardon, see you as a manager?
It's hard. I think they'll say I'm demanding, I'm intense. But I think they know at the bottom, they know that I've got their best interests at heart. But in management, assistant manager, everybody's your pal. You're a good guy, honestly. I've seen it. I'm actually, it's weird because I'm actually listening to Simon Jordan's audio book now, and he speaks about that, for assistant manager to manager. And when you become the manager, there's going to be a group of players that love you, respect you, thank you. And then there's going
They're
to
the
be
ones that you're picking?
Yeah. And there's going to be a group of players that go away and it's a negative experience, but that's just part and parcel of the job. So hopefully, I think what all of them would be able to say, I was honest and truthful with them. And I think even the ones that's maybe had a negative experience could chat my door and know they could ask for my help and I would help them. So honesty, and they know I'm there to help them.
I've got to be honest, David, there was a game last season that unfortunately you'd lost it and you come in, you'd done your post-match.
There wasn't many games we won.
But you'd done your post-match media, and I think the wall behind where you sit in the media room, the other side must be, is it the changing room or is it your office? And I heard one of the biggest bollockings I think I've ever heard, and it was clearly you.
Yeah.
It was ferocious, it was expletive, it was the full works. I mean, I don't know who it was, clearly. But
I think I know what one you're referring to.
I think that told me exactly how you were feeling.
I think...
Is that the norm, or is that...
No, that's... People will say it's the norm, listen. It's something I've tried to get better at also, because do the boys need to see that passion? I think they do.
Was it a player?
Yeah.
It was?
It helps certain players.
Yeah.
It doesn't help other players. It's know how I manage, it's know how I coach. Have I got better at it? I think I have. But is it needed sometimes? I think it has. Now remember, we were fighting for our lives.
Of course.
Fighting for our lives. And I think at times last year, certain elements didn't quite understand what that meant to this football club. And I'm heavily emotionally invested in the football club. But I think it's something I've tried to get better at this year in terms of maybe not speaking to the group directly after a game.
I did quite a few of the games last season, David, and you were picking your words carefully, publicly.
Yeah.
Because you needed the players on board, but that was an indication of how maybe privately you had to maybe be different to get a reaction.
I think you've got, I'm never ever, no matter what happens, I'll never throw players under a bus. I played a huge part in the relegation last year. Me, not just the players, me.
You don't believe in that as a manager in general, is slaughtering your players in public, if at all possible? I
think if you're a manager and that's the road you want to go down, you know your player better than me.
Yeah.
So who am I to judge you in terms of how you manage? I don't think everybody looks for this recipe. There's Pep, there's Klopp. There's a recipe. It doesn't work like that at clubs. Every club is different. Your personality, your players, everything's different. So how you manage or how you coach, I could never judge that. Do you know what I mean? So somebody maybe giving a player a wee bit in the media, and I've done it in the past.
Yeah.
Maybe no slaughter them, but I've told the truth.
Yeah.
I've told the truth. Maybe that's what that player needed. Maybe the group needed that to hear that at that time.
See that particular player, when you gave him the verbal volley, did you do it knowing he could take it?
Yeah. Yeah, he needed that. And what you probably don't see on a daily basis at the football club, the fans will look at it and go, how's he not playing? How's he not playing? How's he? It's not always form. There's behaviours on a daily basis, behaviours on the training park, your timekeeping, your discipline, your body fats, how you train as an individual. If I keep picking a player that's bad at that, what's the message that sends to our group? How
did the player take it? Did he speak back? I mean, even respectfully? Did he then subsequently respond how you wanted him to?
Yeah, I think he went on, and I know who you're meaning, and I think his game went up a level. I think he's taken his game up a level.
Yeah.
But there would have been a lot of nudges and prods and probes before that.
Yeah.
It's not just for one extreme to the other. So that's probably been a manifestation of previous weeks, 4, 5, 6 weeks, where you're trying to get more out of the player. They're not doing what you're asking them. They're not fulfilling their own potential. Remember that I say to the player, see the day I come off you. The day I come off you is the day you probably need to leave Livingston. Because every day, all I'm trying to do is make you better. I try to build an environment. Everything is here for you as a professional footballer. We've not got the resources of the bigger clubs, but I'll argue with anybody that we've not got the infrastructure and the resources within here, take the financial element away, to make you a better football player.
Who are the managers that you particularly admire or have admired, past and present? Who are the guys that you would look to and go, yeah, love it? I think there's a lot, but it varies. At whatever level, David.
I know, but everybody's going to hit you with the Pep comment, the Arteta, right? See, for me, I love watching their teams. I love Ange. I think Ange has done an incredible job at Celtic. Then he's went down to the English Premier League, and I sat and watched that, and I love watching that. Steven Gerrard, loved it. I loved how Steven done his interviews after games. I loved him on the sidelines. I loved him after games. But then you can go down to Scotland, Derek McGregor, Tony Docherty. There's loads and loads of different types of managers that you'll maybe respect different elements of their persona.
How often do you get a chance to sit down for a cup of tea? Even in social occasions, or maybe the pint with them or whatever? Have you ever?
No, I'm not really a drinker, to be honest.
Or
a coffee.
Do you get moments where you can sit down and chew the fat?
Pre-COVID, that was something that was just kind of an unwritten rule.
Yeah.
Everybody, after every game, win, lose or draw, you all went in. COVID hit. And I think COVID's changed the dynamics of a lot of different things in society. COVID, you were away for each other, we were changing there, the boys were, the away team were changed there. So used to sit and spend a wee bit more time with managers pre-COVID than what we do post-COVID. Or maybe that's just me, maybe everybody still does it.
Well,
but you bump into each other at events, you'll send each other a wee message. Do you really? People forget this is 24/7. Management is 24/7. It is all consuming. Maybe there's summer there. You could say I had 4 weeks off. You've not got 4 weeks off, right? I was straight away, season finished. I was away doing my pro licence, finishing my pro licence. Then I had to make time for my family. But when I was away with my family for 2 weeks, I'm working.
I was going to say, see, in all honesty, David, I mean, is there a single day where at some point or another you're not involved?
Nah.
You're taking a phone call at some point, aren't you? You're thinking about it.
It's all consuming, ain't it? Every manager, probably the higher level we go, the more that is. But every manager, you're invested in this 24/7. You don't get time not to be thinking about football.
Do you feel guilty about that when you're with the family at times? You lose a focus? No.
No.
Is there no? No.
That's terrible, eh? I think my wife, if I'd sitting here and said yes, she'd say you're a liar. So, nah. Remember I spoke about 240, 26. First thing you think about, last thing was prison. Charles going to prison. See now, and this is a difference in my life. First thing I think about when I wake up is football, and the last thing I think about before I go to sleep is football. And the family played a part in that. But my family, Georgia's grew up here. Georgia was 2-year-old when I came maybe one when I came to Livingston. Georgia's at every home game. She's now helping work. My wife comes to every home game. This is part of our life. Now, my tenure at Livingston will come to an end at some point, obviously, and I would like to progress my career at some point, obviously. Do I want to be running about with a tool bag? No, really, but am I happy to do it if I need to do it? Of course I am. But that chapter now, life will close at some point, but Livingston's been our life as a family.
Is Georgia your only child?
No, I've got a son to a previous relationship.
Is Georgia a daddy's girl?
Bit of both.
Now, I mean, again, when I've been here to games, there always seems to be one or two fans in particular in the main stand that you're always turning around going, really? They're always giving you in the neck. I mean,
oh, no, it's the boys up the right-hand side are not too happy with me, you know.
So if Georgia's in the stand or your good ladies in the stand, did they take that personally?
Last year was difficult. Last year was really, really difficult. And I think Georgia and Martha lost a wee bit of love for the game coming to Livingston, as the fans did.
How old was Georgia, sorry?
Georgia's, God, you put me under pressure here. Georgia's 12 now.
Right. So that's tough. That's tough hearing their dad getting slaughtered.
And listen, kids grow up on social media. That's the one part of football I really, really dislike. And I've been meaning to talk about it in more detail. I think the noise that comes from the stands is fueled by social media at times. You look at managers' tenures at clubs, it's so short and it's controlled slightly by social media. You got fans, you're going through a tough period, and fans, he's no good. Probably stronger words than that effect to players. That makes managers' jobs so much harder. Players are coming in, players are then looking at their contracts going, I've got 6 months here. I can't wait to go out this place. But that's fueled by social media. And it doesn't help. So fans going on battering managers, battering players, it actually makes your job a lot harder. Because whether you like it or not, I tell players, you need to stay off social media. They don't. They've grew up with social media. They're on social media. And I seen that with Georgia a wee bit last year, coming home for games and stuff. And I said, darling, you need to stay off social media. I wasn't dad. But it comes up in their feeds. But I don't buy into this. So it's football and I pay my money and I'm entitled to say what I want. I don't buy into that. I really don't. Support your supporter. Go and support your club and trust the people within the club, your chairman, your chief exec, your coaching staff and the players, and give them your full backing.
To your huge credit, you routinely pay visits to the prison. I mean, see when you get stuck here, see when you go in the prison, they're football daft. What kind of banter do you get in there?
Normally all Rangers Celtic banter. You're a Rangers fan, you grew up in Govan, and then the Celtic fans are battering you. But that's the common language football, isn't it?
Aye.
You can relate to that anywhere you go.
Aye.
Going into a prison, we'll sit there and you could get a cup of tea, a cup of coffee and sit and talk to 50 prisoners about your life experiences, but about football. I
would imagine they're inspired by you, Davy. I'm not meaning to butter you up, but I think they would look at you and go, wow.
Yes, I'm inspired. But they look at my story and it gives them a bit of hope, it gives them a bit of light. I've done a wee bit with Radio 4 probably 6 weeks ago. Done it last year, but it got released over.
Radio 4, David?
Radio 4.
That's highbrow stuff.
I was amazed at the amount of people that listen to Radio 4. Amazed. Honestly, walking through the street in Edinburgh and somebody will stop me, I heard you on Radio 4. And I've had a lot of letters for prisons in England. You can now email a prisoner, so it's quite easy for me to get back in contact with them. Aye, so inspiring. I think you just give people a bit of hope. There's a story there. And the one thing that you lack when you're in prison is hope. That's the hard part, is the hope. So anything I can do to try and help people come out and make a better go at life and keep them out of prison, I'm more than happy to do it.
So when you put the football manuals away, you put the toolboxes away, what does David Martindale do to unwind? What do you do if there is anything to relax?
Work.
You must have other interests, surely.
I play golf, try and play golf. Now, I started that last year. I think last year the dog was even getting tired of getting walked because you go to bed and you're up at 5 in the morning, you can't sleep, you're thinking about the next game, you're thinking about relegation. I ended up buying golf clubs and going playing golf. So I try to play golf on a Thursday, go on the golf course about 7, I get in here for about 11 o'clock.
Aye?
So I try and do that most Thursdays if I can.
Are you into your music?
Nah, I'm terrible.
Really?
Terrible. I'll listen to the radio, but terrible.
No, don't go to concerts or anything like that?
Nah,
no, you're not a concert.
never really.
Do you know you can take George
football?
out to concerts or anything like that?
Nah, Martha does that. Nah, football. And like, after work the day, after training the day, we're building a recovery station in the gym, me and the boys, the two maintenance boys we've got. So I think that's therapeutic for me also. Putting the nail bag on, going making Livingston a wee bit better, seeing that project, taking it from the kind of idea and turning it into the finished article, and the players can get the benefit of that. I'm always doing something here, always doing something. And that's probably a wee bit of my way unwinding from football.
And of course, I mean, you know, professionally, you're just motivated to get Livingston back in the top flight. You know, you're in a championship dogfight.
No, definitely.
But you've done it before.
But it's a tough league. It's a tough league. I think it's really competitive. I think every single club in this league right now will be thinking they've got a chance of going to the Premier League next year. Every single club. You've not got we're perceived as a big boy coming down just because naturally we got relegated. We're the big club coming in, but we're not really that big.
Well, your budget's not going to
We're not a big club.
Yeah.
No, we're not a big club, but we're not a Dundee United or Hearts who have Hibs in previous years. You're going there, stick on. Budget, bang, they're away. I do all my homework, we've probably sat in 4th, 5th budget, best budget in the league. It's competitive, so that'll give us a fighting chance of trying to get back up.
Davey, I wish you the best, and I've loved the chat. Really grateful for you making the time for us.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, and cheers for the biscuits.